What I'm doing is creating a series of lectures that explore the avant-garde and that explore... Oh my god, I can't say a sentence. What I'm doing is exploring a series of lectures that explore the avant-garde in history and context. And I don't know how to do that or what order to do it in. So I'm doing an overview, I'm going in deeper. There's just going to be a series on the avant-garde and it's going to comprise a melange of different things, from minimalism to experimentalism to new complexity and so on. I think if we understand all these different movements and how they feed into each other and influence each other, we can have a deeper understanding of avant-garde in general, contemporary classical artwork practices in general, or just how to get from the classical scene to now and why artists do what they do. So I mean everyone, like composers, painters, drawers, sculptors, theatre people, all the arts, writers, because ultimately we're all doing the same thing. We're trying to express ourselves. Today's video is going to explore Dadaism. Dadaism, or the Dada movement, emerged as a radical and avant-garde art movement in the early 20th century, profoundly influencing the landscape of modern art. Originating during the tumultuous period of World War I, Dadaism was characterised by its anti-war politics, rejection of traditional aesthetics, and embrace of absurdity, chaos, and irrationality. I always love highlighting an absurdity. You could say that it began around 1916 in Zurich, Switzerland, at the Cabaret Voltaire. Founded by Hugo Ball and Emmy Hennings, the cabaret became a gathering place for artists, writers and intellectuals fleeing the war. The movement quickly spread to other cities including Berlin, New York, Paris and Cologne. So it had an anti-art philosophy. I've talked about this in another video, a very brief study vlog where I looked at Marcel Duchamp's urinal, so you can use that for reference. Dadaism was fundamentally anti-art. It sought to overthrow established norms and conventions in art, challenging the very definition of art itself. This was a direct reaction to the horrors of World War I and a rejection of the rationalist and nationalist ideologies that Dadaists believed had led to the conflict. They embraced absurdity and nonsense. Dadaists used absurdity and nonsense as tools to critique contemporary society and culture. Their works often featured random, chaotic and seemingly illogical elements, reflecting their belief in irrationality of the modern world. It makes sense. You're in the middle of a war. It seems irrational. Why are you fighting? Why are you torturing people like this? So they're like collage and assemblage, collaging things together, assembling them together, combining disparate materials and found objects to create new, unexpected works. So yes, when you're in reception and you had to glue all that stuff and make a collage, you can blame the Dadaists for that. I hated collage at school. It's so messy. You get the glue there, you got to stick sheets of paper and cloth onto something. It never looked good. I'd be different now if I took my mindset now back to being a kid. Oh, to live life again. Readymades! So Marcel Duchamp, one of the most influential Dadaists, because in hindsight we've written about him so much that he seems like the most influential Dadaist, but he introduced the concept of the ready-made. This was an ordinary manufactured object designated as art, so it was already there, and he just called it art. His famous piece Fountain, which is a porcelain urinal, exemplifies this idea. It questions what constitutes a work of art. Does it matter that an artist hadn't made it with the intention of it being art? He made it art just by changing the context. And can you apply this notion to anything else? I'll leave you to think about that. Performance and poetry. I love poetry. And I love performance. Dadaists frequently engaged in performance art and experimental poetry. These performances were often provocative and confrontational, aiming to shock and disrupt audiences. Sound poems, love a good sound poem, like Hugo Ball's Caravane, can't pronounce it, I'm sorry, featured nonsensical syllables and phonetic elements breaking from traditional language structures. And logo boom, blago boom, but it sounds kind of nice. I actually enjoy saying it. Notable figures, we have Marcel Duchamp, I've already said. We've got Hannah Höch, a pioneer of photo montage. Höch used cut-out photographs from magazines to create provocative and politically charged images, often critiquing gender roles and societal norms. There's always a point to the work. It's not just art for art's sake. They are critiquing something, they are reacting against something in society. We have Hans Arp. Arp's abstract compositions and sculptures embody the Dadaist embrace of chance and spontaneity. His work often featured organic shapes and forms, reflecting his interest in nature and the subconscious. So the subconscious came into surrealism a lot as well. So these things do sort of flow into one another. Then we have Tristan Zara, a theoretician of Dada. He was also a prolific poet and performer. Poets are great. So let's look at the legacy and impact of Dadaism now. Dadaism's legacy is profound, laying the groundwork for many subsequent art movements, including surrealism, what did I just say? Abstract expressionism, and conceptual art. Its radical questioning of artistic norms and its embrace of the absurd continue to influence contemporary art practices. The movement's emphasis on performance, multimedia approaches, and the use of everyday objects in art paved the way for future explorations in these areas. So you can always say, "Oh, that's very Dada of you. You're using multimedia? How very Dada." Next time you're at a cocktail party. So Dadaism in music, why not? We have Hugo Ball, so he did the sound poetry, and yes, you could say that's very musical. Ball's sound poems typify the Dadaist approach to language and sound, transforming them into abstract and nonsensical performances that defy conventional interpretation. You could say that he takes the sound of words and highlights them, puts them at the forefront of a piece. So in his poetry, it's all about the sound of the language rather than the meaning behind them, because we can often look past the sound of words. We have Kurt Schwitters, best known for his Ursonate. Schwitters created a sonata based on sound poetry. This piece is an extended performed poem consisting of meaningless sounds, which Schwitters delivered with a musicality that highlighted their rhythmic and tonal qualities. So again, we have rhythm in everyday words, and timbres can be explored. I suppose you can get harmonies. We're a bunch of frequencies after all, pitch and frequencies. And then we've got Tristan Tzara, who wrote manifestos and performed Dada events that included chaotic and nonsensical sound performances. And they often involved simultaneous declamations of poetry, random noises, and performative actions. Does that mean that Yoko Ono, was she Dadaist? Because she does a lot of shouting. Is Yoko Ono Dadaist? She was a neo-Dadaist. So she came after the Dada movement. I'm all for expressing yourself creatively. If that renders itself in screaming down a microphone, then so be it. So Dada significantly influenced the development of later avant-garde movements in music such as Fluxus and the happenings of the 1960s, which similarly challenged the boundaries between art and life. That is the key thing here. It's not art for art's sake, it's the opposite. Additionally, Dada's use of non-musical sounds and collage techniques can be seen as a precursor to modern musical genres like musique concrète, electronic music, and even certain streams of punk and experimental rock. So thank you for watching this. This has been part 1 of Dadaism. Join me in part 2 of Dadaism, where we look at Dadaism in literature, and we'll look at Dadaism in theatre, and Dadaism in music even more. Because why not? I feel like talking about things iteratively and revisiting things will help to get a clearer idea of the concept of all things experimental and avant-garde. Everything influenced everything else. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video. We'll talk about Dadaism in literature. We'll start off with that. Bye for now.